Hello and welcome to the 1985 Wisconsin State Fair. My name is Bob Cole, and today we have Natural Resources Day. The DNR is out here at the State Fair, and they have their special day today, and the theme, Life is Wild in Wisconsin. And boy, we've got a wild show for you, to say the least. We have two gentlemen here from the DNR, Mel Albers and Bob Ellingson. They're going to be talking to us about the exhibit that they have out there. And we also have a few segments concerning Smokey the Bear and animal rehabilitation, and we even have a special guest here that's going to bring some live animals onto the show. If you're around, we are coming to you from the South Exhibit Hall, so if you get a chance, either today or the rest of the days of the fair through Sunday, we are on every day from the South Exhibit Hall. We'd like you to come out and say hi to us. Right now, our own, in keeping with the theme, Life is Wild in Wisconsin, our own wild man, Jim Henderson, was out at the Activity Dome. They're planning on building a new nature center here in Milwaukee, and Jim talked to some gentlemen at the Activity Dome about this project. So we're going to take a look at that tape right now.
We're with Al Stenstrup, who's with the Department of Natural Resources. Al, what are you doing here this morning?
Well, we have the Havenwoods exhibit, and Havenwoods is the new Urban Environmental Education Center here in Milwaukee. It's located on the old disciplinary barracks grounds on 43rd and Silver Spring. We're here because we're relatively new, promoting the education program that we have, and we deal predominantly with school groups and youth groups on a reservation basis. We are available through the Department of Natural Resources, and if I could give our phone number, we're available at 562-9625.
562-9265.
9625.
9625.
Right.
Put that on the screen. I missed that one. Do you go out and speak before schools?
Yes, we do. We do get out to schools. We talk about a variety of different types of environmental issues, ranging from groundwater and acid rain on up to wildlife, which is, of course, today's topic here at the fair.
Are you in the process of building a building?
Yes, we are. We're in the process of building a beautiful passive solar education center at Havenwoods. It'll be available in March of next year, and that's when we'll begin to do a majority of our program on site.
That will be at 43rd?
That'll be on 43rd in Silver Spring. Actually, it's just north of there off of Sherman Boulevard. That's where the entranceway is.
So it'll be open to the public?
Yes, it's open to the public morning, noon, and night, and that will begin, like I say, in March of next year.
Right. Al Stenstrup, thank you very much for
Okay, thank you, Jim.
Right.
Have a good day.
Right.
All right, back here at the South Exhibit Hall, we'd like to thank our own Jim Henderson for that segment. And a reminder, this is Natural Resources Day here at State Fair, and the DNR is putting on a big show for us. Our next segment, we got a chance to talk with Dennis Yonkers, and I don't know if you remembered, last year we had him on our show. They're having a big education program going on today for youngsters and older people as well here at the State Fair, called Project Wild. And for the youngsters, there are over 600 entries in the DNR poster contest, and the judging is going on right now at this time as we're sitting here talking to you. And in a little while we're going to take a look at some of the posters entered in this year's contest. But Jim Henderson was out again at the Activity Dome, and he got a chance to talk with Dennis Yonkers about the DNR Project Wild. Let's take a look at that right now.
We're with Dennis Yonkers, who is the director of the Environmental Educational Project for the state.
Right. I work out of Madison. I coordinate environmental education programming for the Department of Natural Resources.
Tell us about your little exhibit here today.
Well, today's theme at the fair is Life is Wild in Wisconsin. And in Wisconsin, the Department of Natural Resources and Department of Public Instruction is introducing a new wildlife education program into the schools and nature centers and 4-H groups and scout groups called Project Wild. Program developed out west for teachers, and we decided that it was a real good project and we wanted to get involved here in Wisconsin in it.
Is it too late? Should we have done this 25 or 30 years ago?
Well, I think that wildlife has always been a fascinating resource and a real motivational tool within the classroom. And if we can use wildlife to help teach about some of the issues affecting wildlife, as well as at the same time teach some of the basic skills of math, science, and social studies in our classroom and combine those two elements, I think it's very successful. Yeah, I think it's very long overdue in the state.
Right, right. And the children are receptive to what you're doing?
Oh, I think they're going to be real receptive. Right now we're in the process of training teachers around the state, as well as leaders who will go out and train teachers. So we're just in the beginning of the program. program. We started in April. So far, about 400 people have gone through the program, but I expect once school starts in the fall with teacher in service programs and weekend programs at nature centers, we'll get many more people involved.
And it's a statewide program.
Right, it's a statewide program. If anyone is interested in Project Wild, they can contact the main DNR office in Madison or any one of our district offices, and of course the closest one here in the Milwaukee area is the one on Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, and just contact the wildlife staff specialist or an education specialist and ask about Project Wild.
Right. Dennis Yonkers, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Now back to Bob Cole, if you're there, Bob.
All right, I'm here, Jim, and we are back here in the South Exhibit Hall. We've got a nice crowd around us for DNR Day, Natural Resources Day here at the State Fair. And in case you're wondering, some of the regular activities that do go on during the week are taking place today at 5:30. There will be the main parade down the mall here at State Fair. And of course, a very special show tonight at 7 o'clock in the grandstand. Waylon Jennings, Jesse Coulter, my two favorite country stars, along with Neil Young. That getting underway at 7 with a terrific fireworks display to follow that. Okay, we're going to be taking a look now. The county zoo has a screech owl out here. Jim was out doing these segments this morning, and so far he's been laid back, he's been talking with people, and he's been doing a great job. But in keeping in with our theme today, Life is Wild in Wisconsin, we sent Jim out to talk about this screech owl. We're going to have to see how he does. I don't know, this is a very testy situation for Jim. We're going to take a look at that segment with the Milwaukee County Zoo right now.
Okay, we're with Georgia Wright from Milwaukee County Zoo. Who's your friend?
This is a screech owl.
A screech owl. Does he
Yes.
have a name?
Farfel.
Farfel?
Mm-hmm,
You have
is
to be
his name.
careful how you pronounce that name. Georgia, are you what is your duties?
I'm a preschool coordinator
A preschool
at the
coordinator.
education department at the Milwaukee County Zoo. I work with preschool age children.
And you bring them in to visit with the animals, is that it?
Yes, we do workshops and self-guided programs for parents and teachers working with preschool age, and then we have other programs for the elementary age.
You're not a zookeeper as such.
No, I don't work directly with the animals. I work directly with children.
What does this little bird eat?
They eat mice, basically. If they are adaptable, though, if they find another animal or there isn't enough mice around, they will eat sparrows, possibly.
Is he at full size now?
This is full grown, 3 years old.
Do you run around catching mice in your basement then and bring them to the zoo?
Not
How do
me.
you
The
get
keepers
mice?
take care of them.
You breed mice then?
Yeah,
for them?
there's different companies that you can buy different animals for the
Professional mouse breeders? Are there?
Possibly, yes. I don't know if they call them that, but
How old is
Yeah.
this preschool program at the zoo?
we started in 1981 developing the program, and now it's the third, fourth year now. That
And
we are.
what other animals do you show the kids besides owls?
Well, this is for different programs for the education department for elementary as well. And this we have birds of prey, a couple red-tailed hawk, and we do have some snakes, and we have some other creatures that we use to demonstrate all different concepts about animals.
And the purpose is to introduce animals to children.
Absolutely, yes.
Do the little kids touch screech owl? Can they?
No,
or not?
no. We don't encourage children to necessarily touch all the animals that we have because we like them to gain an understanding of what they are without always having to touch. You know, but there are some animals that they can touch, and we do have those with us, turtles and snakes and things like that too.
Yeah, they're fascinated with them.
Oh yes, definitely.
Georgia Wright, thank you very much
You're
for
welcome.
speaking with us.
It's nice talking to you.
Right, thank you.
All right, we are back here in the South Exhibit Hall. Thank you to Jim Henderson, and we have those members of the zoo that were in that interview. We'd like to thank them very much. They did a great job. I understand that Jim wanted to take that one home, but they said it's got to stay. He wanted a new pet, but it's going to stay right here at the fair. As you can see, a lot of today's activities deal with young people. You hear all about this education. They're getting the kids familiar with the animals. Well, as I mentioned earlier, they are having a poster contest for the DNR today where there were over 600 entries, and we are going to take a look at some of those entries. The judging is going on right now, so we won't have a winner for you by the time the show is over, but we will let you take your pick out of some of the ones you're going to see right now in the poster contest. Okay, we are back here, and we wish all of those entries the best of luck. As I mentioned, judging going on right now. We'll have to wait for a big decision later on. Right now, though, we have two very special guests with us from the DNR here at State Fair. To my immediate right, Bob Ellingson. Welcome, Bob. And to his right, Mel Albers. And they're going to talk to us about the DNR. First of all, my question, why don't you explain a little bit about what you're exhibiting here at the fair?
Well, Bob, the DNR has been involved in the fair for many, many years, and we're fortunate to have a 2-acre sanctuary, if you wish to call that, and all the bustle in the State Fair, with an actual stream, trees, picnic areas, and I think a pretty neat place. We try to show the entire offerings of the department and acquaint many of our functions with the some 400,000 people that drop by the State Fair each year to see us.
How has the response from the people coming by been to all these exhibits that you have out at your site?
Mel, you've been here. I've been gone for a few days. Why don't you take it?
I think the response has been really great. It gives us an opportunity to talk firsthand to a lot of our citizens, a chance to meet people that perhaps have their first time or their first opportunity to be into the department's major exhibit here, and to perhaps give them a little bit of an insight into the major objectives that we have, and that's to protect the resource of this state.
Now, you're talking to an average person here. The only time I think of the DNR is when I have to go buy my fishing license every year. What is the DNR doing that affects the average citizen here in the state of Wisconsin?
Well, Bob, first of all, we do have fishing license. We have the new hunting license, archery, the whole ball of wax for this upcoming season. And sales have been running ahead of last year. We have a lot of questions and new programs. One concern is we have no bear season this year, but the waterfowl season dates are in the process of being set, and the rest of the seasons are pretty well locked into place right now. About what we're offering, I think fisheries has always been a very popular, with displaying in our large aquaria many of the species, the game species of fishes in the state. And Wisconsin, by the way, sells about 1,300,000 fishing licenses each year. You can talk to Real Live Warden, visit Smoky Bear Schoolhouse. We also have our non-point. We have our fish pond where you can view or look at many of the fish. And we've had a lot of help, Mel, feeding baby fawn, and also with cooperation from the Milwaukee area Boy Scouts and the ARC, or Animal Rehabilitation Center, that you mentioned earlier.
Okay, we're going to take a look at that in just a minute. But one more question, Mel, before we go. Say you're a camper, as I'm sure many of these fans are, or fishermen, all these people out in the audience. Where would you suggest are some of the best places to go here in Wisconsin?
Well, in Wisconsin, I'm sure that one of the most popular areas for years has been Devil's Lake State Park, newly enlarged camping facilities, Peninsula, the new parks up in the Wisconsin River Valley, Castle Rock, Floyd, very, very beautiful setting, accommodates a lot of campers. And the other thing I might just add to some of the exciting part of the fair this year has been the forestry firefighting protection equipment that's been on display.
Okay, we're going to roll this tape right now, and you two can help me narrate this. We are talking with Mel Albers and Bob Ellingson from the Department of Natural Resources. Now we're going to roll the tape that we took a tour this morning of the DNR exhibit. Why don't we roll that right now, and you guys can lead us through this tour.
Okay, Bob.
The tour will start very shortly here.
Each year we try to pick a theme that will carry through for all of the department's activities. This year, water is everyone's business. We've stressed this in our hourly program, 11 through 6 each day at the Little Theater. Mel, this is your show.
Well, here's an opportunity for the public to see firsthand some of the effects of building buildings too close to the floodplain, or having bridges or culverts that are under-designed and causing flooding to properties. A new portion of the Wisconsin Department's regulation this next year will be
closely supervising major structures, the dams that are on the rivers and form lakes of this great state.
This one right here is supported or provided by the ARC, Animal Rehabilitation Center of Milwaukee. These animals have been rehabilitated in the process of being restored back to health and hopefully released. Many of them have been shot or injured in highline wires so that they can no longer fly. But we do try to tell a story of the predator-prey relationship and the protected species of the raptors. And we're indebted to the ARC for their support and help in the animal rehabilitation program. Also with the kestrels, the great horned owl, and red tails that we have seen in this area. It's right next door to the Children's Nature Discovery area. And this has been very, very popular with youngsters being able to touch, feel, see, and visit and actually perform some hands-on activities. Mel, would you care to cover this one?
Okay, Bob, as what I mentioned before, this is perhaps the first opportunity for many people to view some of our firefighting equipment that the state of Wisconsin has, particularly since a number of our staff were called to assist in the California catastrophic fires out there. This is some of the most modern and perhaps most specialized fire equipment that you might be able to view in the state anywhere.
This was my favorite part of the entire morning here. We got a chance to see buckshot. Why don't you tell us about buckshot?
Well, buckshot is one of the young of the year of the fawns, and probably are a part of an estimated over 1 million population of white-tailed deer in Wisconsin. The season is approaching, and the 15th of September for archery, or around the 15th, the Saturday nearest the 15th, and the harvest this year will probably be about 300,000. It's a little hard to figure if something as cute and nice as this that does cause wildlife damage, that is a cause for 40,000 car accidents each year when they wander out on the highway, and literally millions of dollars of damage onto wildlife crops. Animals are beautiful, animals are nice, all of us love them, but again, they are wild and they do require a certain amount of sustenance and food to eat. Hence, they are both very much supported by many of us in this area, but yet they're also an important source of recreation during the fall hunting season and for our tourist attraction.
Buckshot seems to enjoy the apples there. How many times does buckshot have to be fed each day?
Well, of course, one this size would still be nursing had not the mother been killed in a car accident or hit by a car. This is how this young animal came to us, and it gets milk from the bottle 5 times a day, and right now it's growing up, so it gets additional food. We have what we would use for small calves and fruit, but again, it does basically, until the spots are gone, depend upon milk for sustenance.
Now, we were pretty lucky today. Buckshot tried following us all the way back here to our exhibit, but one of your men finally got it back behind the cage. Now, here we have the camping exhibit. This is something new this year.
That's right. With the growth of urban camping, and particularly the enthusiasm for scouting, it's quite appropriate that we might perhaps demonstrate the utilization of our parks, and the use of the scouting here is perhaps a highlight of the program this year.
And in closing, I'd like to ask both of you, what are the future plans for the DNR? What are your long-range goals here in Wisconsin?
Well, I would have to go back to the mission that our DNR board is given and direction of state legislature to provide a safe environment, clean air, safe water to drink, and a sound resource management program for all. This means for agriculture, our business, and recreation. So what we're doing, why don't you really drop by and take a look? Our parks, our forests, our fish, our wildlife, and our real neat acid rain environmental protection programs.
We do have a lot of stories to tell, and anytime anyone's available, just tap one of us that have a red vest. We'll be glad to take you, answer any questions, show you anything that you may have a particular interest in.
All right. One thing we did not show during our tour was Smokey Bear's schoolhouse. And right now, we had a chance to talk with one of the people running the schoolhouse, and we are going to take a look at that segment right now. We are here in the DNR exhibit by Smokey's Schoolhouse. We're talking with Frank Piotrowski, one of the helpers here. Frank, how long have you been working with the DNR at State Fair?
Well, I just started this year, and I heard about the job through my sister, and she's working at an exhibit here too.
Now, what is your job here working in Smokey's School? Why don't you explain a little bit about what Smokey's School is?
Okay, well, we have the schoolhouse here, and we have a Smokey the Bear in there, and what he does is when children come in the schoolhouse, he tells them about how playing with matches is dangerous, and that they shouldn't do that, and he tells them where you can build your campfires and the best way to put it out.
How have the children responded to this?
Oh, they love it, especially when you get the little kids. They're about this big. They come in there, and they're really having a good time. They come up there, and they hug Smokey. It's really a great time. The kids are what make it a lot of fun.
I imagine you see a few parents that kind of wander by and sort of get interested in this too.
Yeah, and sometimes it's really funny because the parents seem to get more of a kick out of it sometimes than the kids do.
All right, now as soon as they're done and they complete their little class, then where do they move on to?
Well, then they go out of the school and they go over here by the other Smokey's helpers, and they write out a little certificate for them, and they give them a little coloring sheet, and they write their names on it, and they give it to the kids. The kids really like that too.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Bob.
I'm Smokey the Bear. Do you have any questions for me today? Well, many forest fires are caused by campers who need this campfire story. Or smokers who throw a cigarette in a pile of dirt.
All right, we're taking a look at Smokey's Schoolhouse right now, and a lot of kids seem to have enjoyed this. They go in, they can talk to Smokey the Bear, they can ask him a few questions, and then when they're done, they get a chance to get a certificate and a little coloring page, and hopefully have a very rewarding experience and learn to put out those forest fires from it. Right now, we're going to take a look. This morning, we also got to visit the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center. That's where people like me and you, if you see a wounded animal, wildlife in nature, you see it wounded, you can bring it to these people, and they will keep the animal and nurture it until it's back, and then we'll release it back out into the wild. We're going to take a look at this segment right now. I hope you enjoy it. All right, we are here in the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center at the DNR. I'm Bob Cole, and with me is Chris Swartz. And Chris, why don't you explain what's going on here in this rehabilitation area?
We are the Wildlife Ark, which is a wild animal hospital here in Milwaukee. It's located at Silver Springs and Highway 100. The Department of Natural Resources has invited us to participate at State Fair this year to get an educational display of some of our permanently disabled hawks and owls, such as the red-tailed hawk you see right here. Our purpose is to rehabilitate injured wild birds and release them back to the wild once they are fit enough to go, but sometimes the birds are too severely damaged to be able to be released. We keep a few of the permanently disabled ones to use for educational programs because we feel it's very important for people to learn more about wildlife.
What kind of animals do you have here at the fair?
At the State Fair, we're exhibiting great horned owls, red-tailed hawks, broad-winged hawk, an American kestrel or sparrowhawk, and a screech owl.
Okay.
We also have an opossum in the second part of our display.
What's wrong with this red-tailed hawk?
This red-tailed hawk has a problem which is difficult to tell from the outside, and it took us quite a bit of detective work to find out what was wrong. It was presumably hit by a car and developed enough brain damage to have epilepsy. So every once in a while it has a seizure, and it happens frequently enough that we don't feel comfortable about releasing it back to the wild.
Now, how did you become trained to deal with these animals and these problems that they have?
A lot of it is self-taught, as wildlife medicine is a brand new field, and most veterinarians are not trained in it. I myself began in Florida 10 years ago working at another rehabilitation center and was taught in part by the people who were already working there in an apprenticeship and also by working with a vet down there. Then I moved to education and taught for 10 years, feeling that perhaps I could be more useful teaching people about wildlife than by actually doing hands-on work with the animals. However, when I found out that Nancy Frank, the director of
All right, we are back here in the South Exhibit Hall, and it is DNR Day, Natural Resources Day, and next to me, to my immediate left, I have Ron Kurowski, who is with the DNR Parks Department. Ron, why don't you tell us what you're doing here at the fair? And you've brought an interesting guest along as well.
Right. My job here is to answer questions in the parks exhibit, and also I've been giving reptile talks at our little theater in the woods and at the activity center. And we want to explain that the snakes that people see in the woods in our state parks and our fields and marshes are not poisonous. We only have 2 poisonous snakes. Those are our rattlesnakes. Many of our snakes, we have 24 different kinds, are non-poisonous. And we just want to point that out because we feel that so many people are very fearful of snakes, and they don't even want to venture away from their campsite because they might think that they might run into a rattlesnake. I have here a bull snake. A bull snake is, I guess if you can go off the picture here. The bull snake is our largest snake in Wisconsin. He's has a bullet-shaped snout. He's black and yellow. Whoops. He's a very powerful snake too, and he just let me just get him here. He's a constrictor. That means he'll catch his prey, crush it, and then swallow it. He is considered the largest snake because when you consider length and when you consider the bulk, he might weigh about 3-4 pounds. And he's a very large snake. This one I got is maybe about 5 feet in length. He's found in the southern half of Wisconsin, and you can see how he's pulling there. And that's not somebody else pulling at the other end. He's just trying to get away from me, but I got him good.
Now, is he dangerous? I mean, if I were a camper, I'd be scared to heck if I seen this thing near my tent.
Well, you know, you shouldn't go pick up any big, large snake because they'll bite, but it's not a poisonous snake. And most of the times you hardly see them in the summer because when it's real hot out, they want to stay in cool places. They crawl underground, and they'll stay there.
And that's why he's trying to get away from the hot lights.
I think so. Yeah, it's pretty warm right in front of these lights. I also we also want to point out in these reptile talks that just like many other animals, the reptiles are also having a hard problem. They also are becoming threatened in our state. And I'd like to just maybe show a couple of those if we have a few minutes. No time. Okay.
We're almost out of time. Why don't you just tell us, are you going to be having more of these talks this afternoon?
Okay, I was here for 3 days. I'll be giving a talk at 5 o'clock and then tomorrow at 10 o'clock at the Little Theater in the Woods in our DNR exhibit area.
Okay, we'd like to thank you, Ron, and thank you for bringing your special guest and our other special guests, Bob Ellingson and Mel Albers. Thank you all for joining us. Reminder tonight, 5:30, the main parade, and of course 7 o'clock, Waylon Jennings, Jesse Coulter, and Neil Young. Thank you for joining us from the South Exhibit Hall. I'm Bob Cole at State Fair.